And we're back. Thank you. Apparently, you heard the music in the background and they decided to go ahead and can me. I hate YouTube. I really do. It sucks. Until we can get a decent thing to replace it, well, we're kind of stuck with it right now. All right. So let's go ahead on forward. So here's one thing. If you've included a public trolley system, you can increase your population by 80,000 people. With more and more people moving to cities, public transportation becomes important to allow them to move from one place to the other. Cities were developing trolley systems, tracks above the streets, and eventually, around the turn of the century in New York and Chicago, they started digging these underground subway trains, which are still in operation today. So if you've done the trolley system, increase your population by 80,000. So if you start off with 20,000, you now have 100,000 people. Congratulations. However, if you've connected two main streets going through downtown, and you have two trolley systems working in both areas going between each other, you have an extra 15,000. So if you've done two trolley stations, you've gone from 20,000 to 115,000. Not bad at all. If you included a newspaper publisher with the invention of the linotype, automatic typesetter, and the time of the cost of printing newspapers has gone down. So big cities typically have newspapers popping up. People enjoy being able to read about what's going on in the world they live in. So if you added newspapers, add another for 35,000 to your population. If you included a factory, guess what? The late 1800s, early 1900s, this time period we're talking about, a number of African Americans were facing discrimination in the rural South, and they're looking for better places to live and get jobs. So what they do is they don't have an education, or they don't have much of an education if there is one. So they're moving to larger areas with factories that require little to no education, and they start moving to the city as well. So if you built a factory, increase your population by 60,000 people. So if you've done all these, you've gone from newspapers to trolley systems. That's 115,000 plus newspapers was, I think, 45,000, no, 35,000. So that's 150,000. Now you can increase your population by 60,000 people for these factories. That takes you to 210,000 people. Not bad. If you include parking lots, here's where things start going down. With the increasingly dense population, space becomes extremely valuable. Cities start using public transportation, and cars are still very, very expensive and owned only by the wealthy. Number of cities cannot spare space for large parking lots. So your population decreases by 50,000. If you include a school, guess what? You need schools to actually make your city sustainable. In the South, once again, our African American population that are moving north looking for factory jobs, they're also looking for educational opportunities. So with segregation in the early 20th century, it's still difficult for them to get a good education. And a number of African Americans start moving to northern cities for better education. So if you have these city populations happening, then you can increase your population by 30,000. If you don't include a school, the residents of their city are going to want their children with a good education, so they are going to start leaving. They go to the suburbs. So for every school, if you didn't put a school, subtract 15,000 people because they're leaving. Cities with schools going to roll the dice to see who gets the people. Highest dice school wins. Farmland. If you included farmland, I'm sorry to say, farmland is very valuable, but it also takes up a lot of space. Farming is well outside the cities because you need wide open spaces. Now, a number of farmers are giving up farming and moving to the cities in search of new jobs. So if you include farmland in your city, your population decreases by 65,000. Ouch. Sorry to tell you this. If you included skyscrapers, because of limited space, cities could no longer expand outward, so they start going up. So there's cheaper steel, and these builders are able to build much taller buildings than before. And soon these cities could fit more offices and more people in these extremely tall buildings. So for every skyscraper, add 40,000 people to your city. Now, elevators. The first safe elevators were essential to build skyscrapers. For the skyscrapers to be practical, people need an easier way to get those up instead of just up and down the stairs. So if you included skyscrapers but did not include elevators with them, your population decreases by 35,000 per skyscraper because people do not want to move from place to place to climb upstairs all day. So elevators, skyscrapers without elevators, you're going to see a drop in population. Kind of a weird way to look at it, but that's what happens. Next up, if you included wood buildings, well, your population doesn't change. But here's the issue with wood buildings. You are quite literally on a tinderbox. Wood doesn't last very long. And here's the problem. As you can see in the picture here, the Great Chicago Fire of 1871, most of the buildings there were made out of wood. And when one building burned, then the building next to it went up too. So wood is not a good thing if you want to build cities. It was great way back when, if you're looking at like the 1500s, but even then, there was still a fire risk. In fact, the Great Fire of Rome, it happened back in, I think it was AD 150, if I remember correctly. Nero was, no, actually further than that. Nero was the emperor. Rome burned because all the houses in Rome were made out of wood. And allegedly, Nero sat on the roof and he was playing the fiddle while Rome was burning. So if you're using wood buildings, well, your population remains the same for now. Hopefully you don't catch fire. Now, if you added a public park, as cities grow and buildings start popping up, people became aware for the need to open public spaces to enjoy nature and also entertainment. So in an effort to create more, attract more people, some cities start reserving open spaces to be public parks. Central Park in New York is one of the big ones. It's one of the more famous ones. Here in Baton Rouge, we've got University Lakes, those parks over there, University by LSU. So if you added a public park, your population increases by 35,000. If you did not include a public park, residents might decide they want to live somewhere else. So 5,000 people leave your area and they move to a place where there's a park. If you included retail Department stores, shopping becomes a big attraction in a number of places. You get stores like Tiffany, Bloomingdale's in New York. And people are wanting to go to buy a lot of stuff at once. So the department stores like Marshall Fields, Kohl's becomes one. Walmart to a lesser degree. Walmart started off as a department store, believe it or not. People like living near places where they could do their shopping. So if you added one of these retail centers or department stores, increase your population by 45,000. Now, if your retail center includes all 4 buildings and they're near each other, people enjoy being able to do all their shopping on foot without having to worry about transportation. So increase your population by 10,000 if they're all next to each other. If you have any empty blocks, any empty spaces, people prefer to live in cities that include many features all over. So vacant lots are typically considered to be an eyesore and give cities a bad look. Cities are dense and their empty spaces show that businesses and people are not eager to be part of the city. So if you have any empty city blocks, your population decreases by 10,000. So here's your reflection. 1, how big is your city population? 2, what contributed the most to the population of your city? And 3, of the various features, rank them in order of what you believe to be the most important to city growth. And why did you rank them that way? And lastly, here's your exit ticket. All right. So let's go ahead and go to our exit ticket. And here it is, the exit ticket. So explain how the decline of a city's central business district will affect the rest of the city. Put in your own words here and go. In the meantime, have a good rest of the day. I'm going to stop the stream. And yeah, you feel my pain. I know you do. I don't know why this looks like this. It's not that bad. It's about time I need to shave my head. All right. All righty. Well, have a good rest of the day. I'm going to end the stream and away we go.